So let's talk about what exactly is insomnia. So where's that line from, if we have a spectrum of sleep where at this end we're sleeping brilliantly every night, to the other end of the spectrum where we've got chronic problems with sleep. There's a kind of a tipping point where we would say this class is as insomnia. And I think it's useful, most of all, to know what these three elements are of where does sleep go wrong. So the first is trouble getting to sleep. The second is staying asleep or feeling unrefreshed due to poor sleep. So those are the kind of what we consider as problems in sleep. And if that has happening 3 or more nights a week, and it's taking you longer than 30 minutes to fall asleep, and it goes on for longer than 3 months, and with impaired daytime functioning, that would be a definition of insomnia. But, for what's more important is to think about how's your sleep. And, I asked you to reflect on that earlier on. So, let me know and have a think if you're watching this on a replay, which of these is the struggle for you? Or maybe it's a combination and maybe it changes. So is it about, can you fall asleep easily? Do you sleep through the night? Do you wake up feeling refreshed? Let's have a think for a moment. So let's see. So there's a few people who wake up really early and then can't get back to sleep. Some, I feel tired all the time, struggle to get to sleep. Yeah. So a real mixture. So the main ones seem to be having difficulty falling asleep, and then sometimes lots of waking, and sometimes just waking up early and then not being able to go back to sleep. Yeah. So when we get to talking about what's happening with sleep, I'll be able to kind of give you a bit more information about, how does that, what can you do about some of that? And, why should we care about sleep? What's the cost? And I'm always almost, reluctant to share like what's the cost of poor sleep, because if you're somebody that's struggling with sleep, the likelihood is that you're already quite anxious about the fact that you're not sleeping, and you might have already, researched and discovered that yes, poor sleep really can have a big impact, and so it's not always very helpful. But for the context of just knowing, what's going on for your body, one of the main things is around your hormone system. So, being able to having increased pressure on your hormone system, partly because it's the stress of not sleeping and that lack of repair that's happening can mean that your insulin and your cortisol are kind of are raised, which means that that's extra pressure on your hormone system more generally. So when you're looking at the production of other hormones, it can have a knock-on effect, and it can also lead to, for some women, to more hot flashes, which then of course exacerbates the poor sleep, and daily fatigue, exhaustion, and inflammation generally in the body can be driven by poor sleep, which can then contribute to other conditions that you might have already. And of course, in terms of our mind and our mood, impaired cognition, brain fog, more reactive to things that are going on, and sadness, low mood. And what that can mean in terms of our environment and our relationships is friction, that we are more snappy, that we are anxious, that we're then not responding, we're not behaving like the person that we would like to be, which can add to that fuel, to that cycle of not feeling good about ourselves and about life, and feeling a lack of connection to ourselves, and which ultimately can drive unhealthy coping behaviors. So maybe we are scrolling on our phone, we are finding ourselves at the biscuit cupboard, we are drinking that extra glass of wine, which can contribute to this poor sleep. So we can inadvertently be everything's reinforcing this negative cycle with sleep. But what I really want to stress, even with that context that sleep is vital, you should care about your sleep, but not worry about it, because often it's the worry about our sleep that causes our sleep problems to be maintained. And we'll come on to talk about that in a moment. And I'm just seeing in the comments here that somebody has said, yes, I've listened to podcasts that have really freaked me out about my sleep. Yeah, and I hear that a lot. People become more and more worried because they know they need to get sleep. And so it drives even more effort and struggle with sleep. So it becomes counterproductive. Yeah, fantastic.